Christian Academy, our grade school that we have. Don't be shy. Emerald Christian Academy, a wonderful school. We've got great students and good staff and good teachers and an excellent principal. We've been blessed. But Tammy and Martha are involved with a mission trip that's coming up. And you're heading out. How many others are going with you? How many?
There will be 20 total.
20 total. Tell us, Laura would too, that's right, you can invite them together. But tell us a little bit about where they're heading down to San Francisco and their project.
All right, so Laura Wood Academy and Emerald Christian Academy are going to be heading down to the San Francisco area. We're going to be working with Praying Pelican Ministries, which isn't an Adventist ministry. And we will be working with them. We're going to be going and seeing a homeless camp and talking with them and praying with them. And then we will be doing some work at some churches that aren't Adventists. So hopefully we can be a blessing to them.
That's right.
Amen.
And so, they're heading down there. This is the ministry is a fantastic outreach ministry in the San Francisco area to homeless people. And they have room for volunteers to come and participate. And so it's going to be a wonderful opportunity. And so we're going to just have a prayer that God would keep you safe as you travel, and that God would use you to be a blessing as you help minister, and that you also would receive a blessing, that it would go both ways. Let's pray. Lord, as both of our schools, Laurelwood Academy and Emerald Christian Academy, head south, and as Tammy and Martha and others are going, Lord, I pray a blessing on them, that you would keep them safe as they travel on the road. Lord, as they get involved in ministry down there, that you would use them to be words of hope and encouragement. May their hands be hands that are helping and reaching out, and as you would have done, Father. And then return those blessings to each of the students and the staff, Lord, that they may see you in every aspect of this opportunity. Work through them, Lord, and bless all involved is our prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you for going and doing that. We hope to hear back, right? Ashley, Matthew, let us know when you get back and we'll hear some stories. Just about every week, somewhere in preparation for a sermon, Shirley will remind me, she says, don't talk about Trump. Because I seem to mention that several times. Huh?
You just did.
That's right, I just did. Steve, you made me think in your prayer. I appreciated your prayer. Thank you. But Steve was talking about God and his willingness to come and serve us, the creator of the universe. And it just made my mind reflect a little bit on world leaders. We see a lot of them in the news, and they're getting together and all the different things. And I thought, wow, we have a God who created everything, who owns everything, who is all-powerful, and he came to be a humble servant. We sang, our songs about that. And I think the contrast, my mind was reflecting on the contrast of the goodness of God and his willingness to come serve us is hard to comprehend. Hard to comprehend. We don't see that very often reflected in the world around us. Well, on to the topic. You have a room reserved for you
In heaven.
in heaven. That's right. But Shirley and I reserved a room at this place. Oregon Caves. Oh, yes. It's kind of a little off-the-road, unknown place. It's not like Crater Lake. It's not like Timberline Lodge and some of the better-known places. But it's a beautiful lodge. We kind of like lodges and the wood structures and just out in the woods and the rock fireplaces. It was a great place. We were going to go for a weekend and we took a bunch of books. We're going to go through the caves, but we're going to have a nice, quiet alone time there, relaxing. We made a reservation. We got to the lobby and we started checking in. And as we were checking in, another couple came in. No reservation. Have you done that? No reservation. Just expect. They're at the counter, and the counter person, the desk person, the hostess, oh, sorry, we don't have a room. Well, instead of the polite thing to do as well, I guess I learned my lesson, thank you, turn around and walk, they started raising their voice, getting louder. And of course that works, right? Rooms magically appear if you raise your voice. So this lady started raising her voice. Of course you've got a room somewhere. And no, I'm sorry, we don't. Well, of course, after the raise your voice, and that doesn't work, then you start beating the counter, because then rooms really appear. So she raised her voice, and then she started slamming on the counter. You've got to. And then, well, that didn't work. Then you lay that trump card. You lay the card, and she started telling. She started telling this counter person how important she was. Literally. Who she was, how much money they made, what job her husband had, how important they were. And rooms magically appeared, right? No, I just standing there like, wow, I've heard these kind of stories. I've never seen it with my own eyes. Shouting and banging and then, I'm important. You have to have a room for me. And finally, that counter person said, well, we do have one room. Oh, I knew it. The lady said, I knew you had a room. I knew you had a room. And she learned right there, that lady, that you just play all of those and you'll get your room. And the person said, well, it's kind of in between remodeling and it's not quite ready to go and all. It wasn't finished. I don't care. I just want a place to sleep. I'll take it. And she got her room. Didn't have a reservation, but she got a room. And later that night can I tell the rest of it? Shirley likes a hot bath. And they had these big clawfoot bathtubs. You just stretch out. And she had a book and she was relaxing in the bathtub. And I was in their big lounge chair reading. And I heard, man, somebody was running down the hall. I thought, wow, somebody's in a hurry. What's going on? And they stopped in front of our door. Bang, 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 bang. Hello? Is somebody in the bathtub? Yes, my wife's in the bathtub. Tell her to turn the water off. You leave the water running so it's hot and toasty. It was filling up the tub and going out the overflow tube.
Oh, no.
The overflow tube wasn't connected to anything.
Oh.
And that lady who had been beating on the counter was in the room below us. And water was running down on her bed and on the carpets and all over her.
Oh, man.
And she was just soaked. And she screamed and yelling at him, turn off the bathtub. Listen. We laughed and smiled. Unfortunately, heaven isn't going to have any of those experiences.
That's right.
No, they were very unpleasant at breakfast. We kind of smirked in the corner. We didn't want to know who was in the room above them. But you got to have a reservation. You can't just come and beat on the counter and get into heaven. Because if God was willing and let you into heaven because you beat on the counter and yelled and screamed and told him how important you were, you'd get there and you'd find out it really wasn't what you wanted after all. Ahead of time, is when we make those arrangements and determine, yes, that's the place we want to go. And that's where we're going with our journey. We've started another journey together going through the book of 1 Peter. And so if you want, you might turn to that. 1 Peter chapter 1. And you know, we kind of go through these things a little bit slow. It's not a speedy journey. But we're in 1 Peter chapter 1, and we're going to look at verses 3 through, and I think we'll make it through 9 this morning. We've got some of the verses on the counter, on the screen. I'm sorry. Blessed be the God and the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who, according to his, what?
Abundant mercy.
Abundant mercy. In our English language, we lack the capacity. Our language isn't as beautiful and flowing and flowery as others. And abundant does not do justice to a description of God's mercy. God has mercy towards us that we cannot comprehend. God has this incredible, abundant mercy. He has begotten us again to a living hope. Through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, God has mercy, incredible mercy towards us. And we take it for granted. It's available. There are those that don't take advantage of it until the last day, and then they're looking and saying, oh, Lord, I think I want in heaven. And God says, my mercy was abundant, and it was free, but it comes to an end. There's a time when reservations are finished. I think that abundant mercy is something that the world needs to know about. And yet we struggle for ways to try and describe God's goodness. We search for ways, and it really, a lot of times it ends up being, we really focus on how we can work our way to heaven. We think there's something we need to do to earn God's favor. There are things that we need to do to earn God's pleasure with us. And we just get it all twisted out of whack and out of balance. The focus is, and Peter is trying to tell us, no, God's mercy is abundant. And he goes on and he says, let me tell you about that mercy. I got to get this over here where I can put my notes. Has anybody ever been merciful to you? Have you ever done something really dumb and really stupid, and do you have a story about that? Oh yeah, about that one. Yeah, another time. Peter, as we looked at last week, as we were doing an overview of this book, Peter has seen that mercy. He's experienced mercy from God. And he's excited and anxious to tell people about this abundant mercy. He knows God. He's spent time with God. He's face to face. He's eaten with him and slept in the same room, and they've talked and they've spent time on the lake in all these different ways. Peter's saying, I've been with God. I know what mercy is like. And he has come and given us this incredible living hope. God has given us mercy. Okay, so go on. The Lord is not slack concerning his promise. Here is what God's mercy is all about. God's not slow, as some count slowness or slackness. He is long-suffering towards us, and he is what? What's God's attitude towards us?
He doesn't want anybody. He doesn't want anybody to perish.
Anybody should perish. What is that abundant mercy? It is God's way of looking at us, how he sees us, his attitude towards us. And some people see God as working hard to keep us out of heaven. He's got this big, long list of rules, and some of them he probably doesn't even want us to know. They're kind of the trick question at the very end. No, God isn't working hard to keep us out of heaven. He's working hard to get us into heaven. He does not wish that anybody should perish, but that we should all come to repentance. That's the mercy that Peter knows. He's lived with this mercy. He's experienced it, and he's anxious to tell us in this letter what that mercy is like. Not willing that any person should perish. And that includes you and me. We're included in that. It's hard for me to know how to describe sufficiently to convict. I don't convict anybody. The Holy Spirit convicts. But I'm not sure what to say that would communicate how I feel and what I know in my head. And communicate it to you and to myself too. The understanding of the fact that you and I are dead men walking. We are condemned to death. We are dead. The default mode of human beings. When you grow up, you're born and you're raised and you go to church and you're a good person. Whatever your life is like, default, meaning unless you do something else, you and I are condemned to death. We will die. No matter how good you are, no matter what you've done in life, no matter how important you are, no matter how hard you bang on the counter and raise your voice, you and I don't get a room in heaven. That's the default mode. Eternal death, eternal separation from God. That is what you and I face. No matter who your parents are, no matter anything, you and I, in the end, will die. We will be separated from God unless we take advantage of God's abundant mercy. It's available, it's free, but you and I have to reach out and take it, embrace it, and allow God to apply it. That means we have to acknowledge that we're sinners. Yes, I'm a sinner, Lord. I know I can't save myself. I need you. I accept that gift of forgiveness. And allow him to wash our sins away. And then if you do that, if you accept that, then Jesus comes and he says, okay, I've given to you freely. I want you to give to me. I want you to give love, commitment, and service. And it's not, we don't have to do that to be saved. It's because I am saved. Then I'd love to do that. Jesus says, don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed of me. Don't hide your light. Don't be ashamed to stand up in front of others and tell them that you love me and that we have a relationship. He says, if you deny me, I'm going to deny you. Wait a minute. Are we married or not? Are you married? Are you ashamed to tell people you're married? Do you not want anybody to know? No, weddings. Weddings are something we do and we invite everybody we know. The world. We want the world to know. We put our picture in the newspaper and in the Gleaner and all this. We want the world to know. Jesus is saying the same thing. Do you want people to know we have a relationship? Or are you ashamed? Or do you hide it? And it comes down, what I'm trying to say is, that's what baptism is. Baptism is telling the world, yes, I have accepted Jesus Christ. I want the world to know. I want the devil to know. I'm no longer his person. I'm Christ's person. Baptism doesn't save us, but it's that action that we take that tells the world, yes, I have a saving relationship with my Lord. Ezekiel. Do I have pleasure in the death of the wicked? This is God asking, speaking to us, wanting to communicate with us today. God is here. He's saying, hey, listen, folks, do you think I really take pleasure in that? Do I have any pleasure in the death of the wicked? Declares the Lord God. Rather than that he should turn from his ways and live. Do you think he's saying? Do you think that I have pleasure? No. I'd much rather that they turn and live. And so the whole scriptures is the story of God. salvation. And so Peter is here trying to communicate that with us this morning. And he goes on, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his abundant mercy, he has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance which is incorruptible and undefiled, and that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you." Peter was looking for words, and you could look up words, incorruptible and undefiled and does not fade away. They're all words. They mean just what they say, but they have different terms, biological and food-type terms, fade away and undefiled. It's talking about our salvation. It doesn't spoil like bread would spoil or cheese would spoil. It's incorruptible. It has no fault in it that a jury would throw out and say, "Oh, sorry, that doesn't work, that doesn't count." It is pure and it is holy and it is irrefutable. There is nothing in it that is going to spoil and take it away from you. It will never fade away. It is there for eternity. He's looking for all of these terms to tell us that our home in heaven is certain. Nobody can take it away. Nothing can spoil it. And it is reserved in heaven for you and I. It's an incredible story. God loves us. And it's an incredible story. How can that be? That God looks down and he knows you and I. He knows us. He knows our names. He knows how many hairs we have on our head. Before we were born, he knew who we'd be, what our name was going to be. Excuse me. God is an incredible, incredible God who has reserved a home in heaven for us. And the Bible gives us a little glimpse and tries to, in some way, take some words and describe the glory and the beauty and the majesty. And it does it in such a feeble way that there's just not language to describe heaven. Tries to describe what it would be like. And Isaiah talks to us about living in a place where there's no more death and no more sickness. And we worship and we fellowship and we explore, and we travel and we do things and all the things that we do. And all of those glories. And then the Bible tries to say, well, those are all great, but the real joy is going to be in God's presence. Just to be in God's presence. An incredible joy. And yet there's something about earth here that attracts us and holds on to us and appeals to us. Back in the 1500s in England, the Reformation was beginning. There were struggles and trying to identify and come up with what people thought and believed and who's right and who's wrong. All of that. Cardinal Wolsey. He was the most powerful man in England next to Henry VIII. He came from humble beginnings. He was a butcher's son who had a chance to get an education, and he had talent and ability, and he took that education, put it all to work, and he weaseled and he finagled and he connived, and he got in time to where he was placed in a position of authority in England and served that country as the second most powerful person next to Henry VIII. And with it came all the luxuries, all the parties, all the clothes, all the power. He had an incredible mansion. When he died, the king took Cardinal Wolsey's house and said, "This is better than mine. I'm going to make this my residence." He had palaces. He had wealth. He had food. He had parties. He had people. He had servants. He had everything. Everything that you could humanly want as the leader of the church and a powerful person in his country. And on his deathbed, he said, "Oh, that I had but served God as diligently as I've served my King. For me, there's a lot wrapped up. Like, looking at it and saying, you know what? I lived a good life here on this earth, but I think I made a bad choice. I think I would rather have a place and a mansion in heaven than a mansion here on this earth. All this stuff, it's all going to be burned up. It's not going to last. It's going to be gone. Cardinal Wolsey at the very end said, oops. I made a bad choice. He took earthly pleasures and put that over his service to God. At the same time, as the Reformation was starting and as Wolsey was doing his deeds there in England and all the persecution, things that went on in England, in Scotland, just north of them a little bit, in Edinburgh, at Greyfriars Chapel here at the church, there were 60,000 Scotsmen who came together. As the Reformation was starting and everybody was trying to find out what's going on, they began to get Bibles. They began to realize, wait, God calls us to be different than we've been taught to be. And God has a higher standard. All the things of the Reformation, the understanding of grace and of mercy and of faith, all of that was coming to an awareness. And it all came and right up against human beings, men who said, wait a minute, we want you to worship this way. And people were saying, but the Bible says we should worship this way. God calls us to a higher standard, a different standard than you are calling us to. 60,000 Scotsmen gathered around and came to Greyfriars in Edinburgh, Scotland. They took a big piece of vellum. Isn't that what they call a lambskin? I think that's it. And they signed their names. Somebody was preaching and they listened and they all agreed and they all took a pledge of commitment. Yes, we choose to serve God rather than men. They were saying, we want to reserve a room in heaven, not a mansion here on this earth. These were the men, the landowners. These were the wealthy men, the powerful men, the important men. And some of them were just artisans and the bakers and the craftsmen, and some were just the servants. 60,000 of all levels. They came and they signed their name. They're called the Covenanters. 60,000 people signed. There's some people who slipped the palm of their hand, and with that blood, they took the pen. Instead of ink, they took their blood, and they signed their names on this pledge to serve God with their own blood. Here is a memorial today. Some of the most prominent of those people who signed their name on that parchment thing and lost their lives. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives because they chose God over this world. They chose to have a reservation in heaven. They lost their wealth. They lost everything in this earth, including their lives. They've got a reservation where it really matters, where it really counts. And that's what Peter was talking about. He's saying, you know what? We have an inheritance reserved for us in heaven. It's going to be terrific. That's the challenge God gives us, I think, is that we look around. He wants us to change our eyes and to see things differently and to realize, yes, we have to live here on this earth. We have to function. We have to have a job and make money and pay our bills and all of those kinds of things. But not at the expense of heaven. Not that we would get so caught up with the things of this earth that we would lose our focus on heaven. That's what Peter is trying to talk to us. This room reserved for us in heaven. Peter can make that statement because he was right there with Jesus and he heard these words. He knew what he was talking about. He was with Jesus, here recorded in John chapter 14, where Jesus was coming to us and he's saying, in my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will
come again.
That where I am, I'm going to make a room. And it's going to be right next to mine. And at night, I know there's no night, but at night you're in your room in heaven and you're banging on the wall. Bang, bang, bang. Jesus, can you hear me? And he bangs back. Yeah, Greg, I can hear you. Oh, I just want to make sure you're there. Oh, yes, I'm here. You know, our room's right next to his room. We're in the same house. We get up in the morning, we go and we sit at the table, and there's Jesus at the same table. It's incredible. The creator of the universe takes us home and gives us a room in his house. Wow. Who would not want to take advantage of that? And that's what God is trying to communicate. And that's his cry to us. He says, turn, choose life. Why would you not take that reservation in heaven? And then it goes on, Peter goes on and he says, not only did I hear Jesus talking about that room in heaven, he says, but I was with Jesus out there in that field, that day when he was talking to us, and suddenly he just kind of, how many of you have been up to Gladstone, to the Oregon Conference campgrounds during Christmas time and gone through their Christmas program up there? What do they call that? Not jerky. It doesn't matter what they call it. They've got this Christmas pageantry thing there at the campgrounds. Have you ever been there? Yeah. It's worth going to. It's really, really kind of neat. I haven't been there in years. We went for the first one or two that they started. But they've got this platform on a tree and a cable that runs down here to this tree down here. And this is the scene, and they got a campfire, and it's the scene where the shepherds are gathering around the campfire and they're taking care of their sheep, and suddenly an angel comes. And so they've got somebody in a white gown, and they're up there, and they're hooked onto this cable. And as the shepherds are talking, all of a sudden you hear, the zip line, and here comes this angel floating down and singing, proclaiming. No, the horses didn't like that. But we feebly try to capture this idea. What's it like with angels floating this way? Well, that was all exciting, but we use zip lines and cables. But what about making them go up the other way? Jesus didn't have any cables, and he didn't have zip lines, and he wasn't connected to anything. Jesus was standing there talking to his disciples, and suddenly, he just started lifting up, and the clouds, started gathering in around him, and they're just didn't know what to say, spellbound. Wow. And there he goes. Into heaven. Peter was there, he saw it with his own eyes, and he's trying to communicate the awe and the majesty and the incredible hope and the promise in all of this. And he says, here's what I heard when I was there watching Jesus. Men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus who was taken up from you into heaven will so come in like manner as you saw him go to heaven. This is the Jesus, the God, the Creator, the Messiah, who said, I'm going to prepare a home for you, a room for you. And Peter's saying, and I saw him leave with my own eyes. I saw him leave. I heard the words, and I saw him leave, and I have no doubt that he's doing what he said he would do, fixing me a room, and he's going to come back and get me. And that's what Peter is trying to say here in these verses, is that Jesus tells us we have a room reserved. And he's saying, don't miss out on it. Don't miss out. He goes on and he says, in this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while, if need be, you've been grieved by various trials. He's finishing up this thought. He says, you know what? He gets them all excited. You've got a home in heaven. Jesus promised. He went to fix a place, and he's coming back. Oh, by the way, it may take a little while. And in the meantime, you might have some trials. He kind of diminishes a little bit. You know what those trials were that these people faced? What? Death. A lot of them died. They were martyred. They were crucified. Peter was crucified upside down. Others lost their heads. They were burned in the arenas. Animals tore them to pieces. He said, well, you might have a few various trials in this time period. You and I have trials, but we don't have lions tearing us apart in there. They're not putting us on stakes and burning us. Peter says, you might have some trials. Though now you do not see him, but you believe. You rejoice with inexpressible and you're full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, the salvation of your souls. He says, yeah. He says, but you have hope. You don't see him with your own eyes, but you know it's true. Peter's trying to convey that. I know you can't see him with your own eyes like I saw him, but have faith, have hope, hold on. It's true. I saw it. I saw it. That sounds like A. John. All right. It just fits right in there. I like that. That'll teach you, right? Turn your phones off. Do you want to go to heaven?
Amen.
It is part of God's plan to have you there. He has a room with your name on it. So what would keep you from going there? What would keep you from making that choice? What would keep you? God loves us. He has no desire for us to be separated from him. He has paid the price. He's made a reservation with your name on it. You come up to the counter, you give him your name. Yeah, I've got a room right here for you. You don't have to beat on the desk and raise your voice. He gives you a big hug. Yeah, I've waited so long. But you've got to reach out and take it. He's not going to force you. He's not going to make you go. That's what we need to do, is be aware that Jesus has a reservation for us, thank him for it, and reach out and embrace that. Yes, God, I accept that gift. I accept your gift of salvation. I accept your free gift of this forgiveness that you give me. And I want to reach out and take advantage of that. And Jesus, I want to tell the world how excited I am for that gift. If you need to make that choice today, as we pray, I'm going to close with prayer, but if you need to make that choice, do it right now in your heart as we pray. Accept that gift. Tell God, yes, I'll take that reservation. And then come and talk to me, and we'll make plans about solidifying that in the public's eyes. We can talk about baptism and how we can schedule that so that you can have that reservation. And you can tell the world, yes, I am going to heaven. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for that assurance of salvation, for the gift that you've given to us, for this abundant mercy. Thank you that you've reserved a room for us in heaven. Thank you for that. And now this Sabbath day, give us opportunities to share that good news with others, that they too can come and join us. Go with us and bless us the hours of this Sabbath. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you again for being here. Next Sabbath,